What I ask you this first question. What do you want to pay for? CEO Bob, what do you want to pay for in your company? Do you want to pay for the job or you do want to pay for the person? But rewards in the digital age, in the knowledge age, and with employees don't not staying in an organization for their entire life, and in the gig economy where people are moving from task to task, there are no more jobs anymore. There are roles, there are gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And in this era of no jobs, no gigs, job based compensation systems are a thing of the past in the digital age. A new phenomenon has been introduced called person based pay. In the digital age, it's not the job that is important, it is the person that is important.
What sounds like a very difficult thing that Dr. Bob is describing can be done with these human cloud platforms or whatever that can match us up much faster than any HR department could wish to be able to do.
Let me tell you from my many years, a pay systems, secret pay systems do not work. When you have pay secrecy, failure. People pay is a psychological transaction. If for Bob Ramirez to be satisfied with pay, he has to, it's called equity theory. He has to think in his mind that this is sufficient pay based on my efforts and whatever I bring to the job. And it was fairly distributed. It's as important to Bob. The amount of pay is important, but equally important for Bob is whether that pay decision was made fairly.
Mm-hmm.
Distributive justice. It's called distributive justice.
Imagine if your workforce was full of people that felt appreciated in the way that made sense to them. That I mean, people would run through walls for their organization. I think they would even be emotionally invested in the mission of the company as well.
Welcome, everybody, and greetings. This is podcast episode number 16 of the New World of Work, where we talk about people leadership in a digital age. Today, we're going to be talking about managing rewards in the digital age. And we have with us, author of the book, Dr. Bob Biswas and Professor Bill Garrison. When we get to the end of this podcast, we're just going to spend a moment highlighting our book. Today, our topic is going to be managing rewards in the digital age. And I'm going to start with Dr. Bob because he's got over 50 years of working on human resources and compensation with leading companies. So let's turn it over to him as we move into compensation.
The compensation and benefits is a profession within human resource management. It is a sub profession, but it is it is huge. Compensation and benefits professionals can specialize in compensation benefits. And the compensation and benefits professionals have their own association. It started off as the American Compensation Association. Later on, they changed the name to World at Work. It's an association of comp and benefits professionals. Over, I would say, 30,000 members around the whole world.
Wow.
They compete directly with SHRM. Okay. They have their own certifications. Like if you want to specialize in comp and benefits, you can get a CCP, Certified Compensation Professional, or CBP, Certified Benefits Professional. Okay. So it's a profession, and I have belonged to that profession for, as you said, almost 50 years.
That's amazing.
And I've been a in-house executive in compensation. Like I was the director of compensation benefits for a company that you all well know. It's Pacific Gas and Electric. I was their director of compensation benefits. And then I've been also a consultant with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Before that, Coopers and Lybrand as a compensation consultant. Plus, I've written two other books in compensation, right? So my background is very extensive in this field, and therefore I wrote this chapter. When I was consulting, hmm, well, I'm going to now pretend that you are a CEO of a company, and you've hired me to consult on types of compensation programs that they should have in their company. So, CEO Bob, what I ask you this first question: what do you want to pay for? CEO Bob, what do you want to pay for in your company? Do you want to pay for the job, or you do want to pay for the person?
Well,
The
I can.
employee
Did you want me to answer that question, or are you just saying that?
might want you to answer.
I believe, in my opinion, I believe I'm looking for the right people that fit within the culture of the company. I can train them to learn what they need to know, but I want them to be highly motivated, trainable, teachable, and I want them to be engaged. As if they have those qualities, I want to make sure that I pay them well so they stay and don't leave for another company once I've trained them.
As the CEO, you want to pay the person, the employee, and
I
not
want
the
to.
job.
Oh, I understand the question now. No, I pay them to do a job, but I also want to pay the people as well. So I don't know if I can answer that 100% either way.
That is the big
It's a good
debate in
question.
compensation today. And what is the title of the chapter now? Non-traditional rewards, or what?
It's
How
called
do we
managing rewards in the digital age.
managing rewards in the digital age has created this debate. Do we want to pay the job the person holds, or do we want to pay the person? So today, in managing rewards in the digital age, paying the job the person does, paying that job was the traditional compensation philosophy. It's a product of industrial engineering, efficiency, and effectiveness, and started in the 1940s, where company created a job hierarchy. Okay, uh, and it is also the product of bureaucracy and hierarchies in the organization, and is also the product of employees stayed in the company for a long period throughout their careers, etc. So they had career opportunity. So the compensation was built on doing job analysis, analyzing all the jobs in the company, from job analysis, producing job descriptions, writing job descriptions, hmm, for each and every job. By the way, there's a difference between a position and a job. Position is the job that Bob Ramirez does, but the job is the generic grouping of work that Bob is a part of. Okay, so the position description, job analysis made to job descriptions. Jobs descriptions were then ranked using job evaluation, hmm, which was directed at internal equity. Okay, there was a pecking order of the jobs, okay, because there was bureaucratic, etc. So the jobs were then ranked using job evaluation. Then, using job evaluation results, the job was put into grades, salary structures, slotted into grades, and the grades had a pay band: minimum, midpoint, max. Minimum is where the learner was paid, the entry level employee was paid. The midpoint is the going wage for that group of jobs. Okay. Various jobs were classified into a certain grade, right? And the midpoint was the going wage, and the maximum was where the most senior performers and the best performers paid. And the system was embedded into the salary grade. So the whole system was built around jobs. But rewards in the digital age, in the knowledge age, and with employees don't not staying in an organization for their entire life, and in the gig economy where people are moving from task to task, there are no more jobs anymore. There are roles, there are gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And in this era of no jobs, no gigs, job-based compensation systems are a thing of the past in the digital age. A new phenomenon has been introduced called person-based pay. Person-based pay. Person-based pay could be structured using a competency framework within the company or a skill framework within the company, okay? Or a purely market-based system in that Bill Garrison's, I check Bill Garrison, the tasks and grouping of work he is doing, his individual position description, okay? As a professor, as a faculty chair, he has an individual set of responsibilities. I happen to know Bill Garrison job responsibility. It is pretty unique. It is not the same as every other faculty chair. He does a lot of different tasks which his boss assigns him to. So he has a specific job description. In the person-based system, based on the philosophy, there is with technology, HRIS, technology being so advanced, we can have a salary range, minimum, midpoint, max for Bill Garrison person-based pay. We don't need to slot him into a box or a grade with other jobs which might be similar to his job or not. And, and we don't want to pay him the average pay of all the jobs in that grade. We want to directly pay him his market value. So I've introduced many pay systems called market-based pay, where we just go and price Bill Garrison's position and pay him what directly the market says he should be paid. Market salary data now is ubiquitous because of digital age. Bill can immediately go to a website like salary.com and put in his position, and it will tell him how much his market value is. So we really, because companies are not bureaucratic, not hierarchical, not a product of the 40s, we cannot perpetuate job-based pay in the digital age. So
Dr.
we are
Bob,
right.
let me ask you a question. If we're bringing in people like people to do a certain job, like to be a professor, what's going to happen to all the training that used to happen by corporations? Because now you're expecting somebody to come in with all the expertise to be the professor right off the bat. You're not
Very
able
interesting
to.
question. The paradigm shifted in the new world of work for training being the responsibility of the company to training and keeping up with the skills, the responsibility of the person. And the
Sounds like it. Yeah.
company can facilitate that, but the person, especially professional in the digital age, has to have their own, his or her own lifelong learning plan. Okay. Today, training is not point in time training. Okay. Where companies conduct training programs where people go to a conference, outside conference room or whatever, and come back and forget about what they learned in that seminar. Okay. Today's training philosophy is continuous learning. Okay. All the time learning with all the I switched to training with all the ubiquitous training programs available. Hmm?
There used to be very well-known companies such as GE, which was known for its training. They were well known for taking their employees and training them up to be, leaders within GE in some of the different divisions. I think it was Jack Welch was the president, and
Their training is ubiquitous, instant, asynchronous, asynchronous. It's available. There are so many websites where you can go and train yourself. On the top of my head, one comes up, Udemy. There are others also, right? Where people can train themselves. So training is becomes the person's responsibility. So enhancing skills is a continuous individual effort. Therefore, in the digital age, it's not the job that is important. It is the person that is important.
I think a lot of what we've been talking about seems impossible to Gen X and baby boomers because we've lived in this time where the amount of minutia was not possible. The computing power just wasn't there to be able to determine each of these things. And so it was like Jack Welch or companies before that. I don't know what kind of labor I'm going to get. I'm going to post a job and let's see what I get. Let me go through interviews to try to figure out what kind of worker I'm hiring. And so it's a lot of this guesswork. Meanwhile, the owner of the company knew exactly the work that needed to be done. They knew the expertise they wanted to get, but it was difficult to find that person with that exact skill set. But I remember going when I was younger in the mid to late '90s, trying to get a job. I went to college, got the degree, filled out a resume, and I was told make sure everything that you are that is Bill Garrison fits on one page that I can print out and hand to somebody. Well, that made my potential employers have to do a lot of investigating to figure out what it is that I actually knew and how I would respond in a situation. But then this thing came out called LinkedIn, and LinkedIn allowed me to create a profile almost like a dating profile, where if I was trying to go on a dating matchmaking site, I want to put down everything that I am, and I want to be able to peruse potential dates to see exactly what they are. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And I really think that what we can do in the digital age now is have this matchmaking service between the employer and the employee. In fact, I was chatting with a friend of mine that said this type of thing already exists where a worker can have a digital profile that has these micro credentials, these micro badges of tasks that they are now good at. So instead of me telling my employer, yeah, I'm pretty good at Excel, I could say, put into a software or whatever, these are the things I know how to do within Excel. I can do these 30 different things in Excel. And then the employer can go, you know what we need is somebody that is good at these tasks within Excel, can create logos, can create, do video editing. And they go, oh my gosh, Bill Garrison matches all these criteria. We need to hire this guy. Oh, and he costs about this much. This is how much we want to spend. So, what sounds like a very difficult thing that Dr. Bob is describing can be done with these human cloud platforms or whatever that can match us up much faster than any HR department could wish to be able to do.
I think Bill is absolutely right. Uh, think about it. In the old days, when there was not computers available so ubiquitously, the job classification process was a taxonomic process which classified groups of work to create an internal hierarchy. But there are underlying assumptions for that. There were underlying assumptions, like I have been saying, that people stayed in the company for a long time. There was a career in the company. There was a hierarchy, pecking order in the company. internal equity, internal ranking. All of these concepts in the digital age are really out the box. Okay. The other day I saw an ad on TV where they're focusing on this individual, the graphics artist specialist. The ad focused this and said the person wanted to do this type of specific graphic art work. And the ad says, okay, if she went to upwork.com and got exact the gig in Germany, and she can work remotely with German company. That is where the workplace is today. So job-based systems, job classification systems, and all is mishmash. I'm telling you, I've been started off as a compensation analyst, a job analyst, a hay analyst. Hay system was widely used, which is a job evaluation system. And nowadays, nobody talks about the hay system anymore. It's become individual-based pay. To highlight this, I'll tell you a story. That is where compensation has to be in the digital age. In the book, Search for Excellence, which was 20, 30 years ago, was a seminal business book written by two McKinsey people, I think. I forgot the name. Peterson, Peters was one of the authors. They tell a story in the book. A company in Bay Area, Hayward, California, mechanical house. They do mechanical machine repair for Silicon Valley companies, mechanical engineering company. Was in Hayward and the company wasn't doing well. So a guy took over, bought it, and he was turning it around. They got a big contract from a big high-tech manufacturing firm to refurbish some one machine for them. Okay. It was a big project, $1 million project for this fledgling company. And there was a team working on it, fixing the machine, but the engineers and the technician was stymied because they couldn't get one of the parts to fit into precision place where it's supposed to fit. And they were racking their brains and they couldn't do it. So a young technician out of the team decides to take it upon himself in his head, the challenge. So he stayed overnight, all night, one night, trying to solve this problem and realized, let me try and put this part in a freezer for 1 hour, refrigerator freezer. And he did it, stuck it in, and I think he contracted the part and it fit in, and the problem was solved. Hmm? The boss found out about this extra effort. The individual put forth. Okay. The next day, he called all the workers in the manufacturing floor together and said, "We have a all hands meeting." So, in that all hand meeting, even on the shop floor, he says, "We were having this big problem, which would jeopardize our contract with this company. We were refurbishing this machine, and the engineers and the technician couldn't fit this part. And this young man went out on his own, in his own initiative, highly motivated young man, and he figured out a solution and helped us save this contract." So as you all know, that's $1 million contract for us. Would this young man identify themselves? The guy shy. He says, "What is he going to fire me or what?" And the boss brings him up. Hey, this is the guy who did solve the problem. We are so thankful to him for his extra effort. So here's a $10,000 check.
Oh my gosh.
That's a spot bonus program.
That's
That
powerful.
is in the individual. That is the structure we have to move to in the digital age.
Yeah,
Because the digital age, the workers are skilled, they're self-skilled, they skill themselves, they are self-motivated, etc. They don't want to fit in boxes like grades and GS 15 or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and to turn
That is,
this to turn this a little bit on an additional point, let me add to that. Um, Absolutely, I think that that bonus probably made a huge made that guy feel very appreciated. But compensation is much more than cash, than money, and so we saw people get benefits and things like this. But my my son and is reading this book. He's getting prepared to get married, called The Five Love Languages. It talks about how different people love each other in different ways. And it's important that when you're married or you're in a close relationship, that you love that person in the way they feel appreciated. And so I think they later took that book and turned it into love language at the appreciation at the workplace. But there is people nowadays feel appreciated with both extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. And part of those extrinsic rewards are things like extra time off or maybe an experience that they are given, a trip, something, maybe tickets to a show. And so what we see in the digital age is we can compensate people with much more than just cash.
intrinsic versus extrinsic. The intrinsic rewards are cash, and extrinsic are satisfying rewards, okay? Individualized rewards. So in the digital age, reward system has to be individual. I think I've made the case for that. No more job-based systems, okay? Because jobs don't exist anymore. It's roles and gigs and what have you,
Yeah.
tasks, activities, no?
So
And
there's this company I've been following pretty closely, researching, called Blue Board. Blue Board is a kind of like your Visa reward card system. If you build up enough points, you can exchange those points for different things. Blue Board, you sign up with your company, and you can give out points to your employees, and they earn money, and then they earn these bluebird points or whatever they are, and then they can exchange that on the blueboard site for their partners. So it may be a Airbnb stay, or it may be a hoodie, it could be a kayak, and so you exchange these points for those type of rewards.
It reminds me of a quick story. I was talking to my kids and asking them what they want for Christmas this year, and my daughter said, uh, she goes, "We know we don't need stuff. We'd like an experience." And I think that's what I like. That's what turns people on. They like and remember the experiences. None of us need more stuff. So,
today's worker is a knowledge worker, okay? They don't want to be told or directed. They want to participate.
yeah.
In my years of experience in compensation, I find more and more knowledge workers want to participate in the process of how they get paid. Okay, so there are a lot of experiments going on in the book Joy of Work, where the author, who's the founder of American Electric Supply, talks about his pay system that he created. Very unique. That's very applicable to the digital age. In his company, American Electric Supply, they have power generation plants across the world. So his pay system will blow your mind, Bill.
Hmm.
The book is there. What happens is every plant, electric generator, is given an annual pay budget by the finance people, right? So much dollars as part of the financial budget. The plant manager has this bucket of money, hmm, for wages and compensation. And the system they created is every employee in that plant will make a proposal of what their pay should be in the next year.
Hmm.
A written proposal, 2 or 3 page written proposal with all the logic and rationale why they should get paid X, Y, Z. And then they have to get it signed by two fellow workers who approves. Then they have set up a works council type committee within the plant, pay committee, of employees and managers. These proposals go there to this committee. The committee adds up all these proposals to fit, see whether it comes within the budget. If it doesn't, they find the proration ratio, send it back to the individual employees, ask them to modify, prorate the increase. It comes out. So employees participated. In the
Interesting.
job-based system, it was a big black box. I was a Hay job analyst many years ago. And Hay system was a big black box saying, Bob Ramirez's job description came to me in corporate headquarters where I was sitting. I did my magic. Nobody knew what I did. Hmm? And Bob's job was evaluated to 2,000 points. I did that and ranked his job 2,000 points. But what do I know about Bob's job? I'm a job analyst sitting in the corporate headquarters. It came to me and I put it $2,000. And the $2,000 dictated, 2,000 points dictated how much you're going to get paid, what salary range you were plugged into. It's a big black box. Employees had no say. Let me tell you from my many years, a pay systems, secret pay systems do not work. When you have pay secrecy, failure. People pay is a psychological transaction. If for Bob Ramirez to be satisfied with pay, he has to, it's called equity theory. He has to think in his mind that this is sufficient pay based on my efforts and whatever I bring to the job. And it was fairly distributed. It's as important to Bob. The amount of pay is important, but equally important for Bob is whether that pay decision was made fairly.
Hmm.
Distributive justice. It's called distributive justice. If Bob doesn't feel was the pay decision was made fairly, he's demotivated. So in the digital age, reward system has to be based on the individual person, not the job.
Imagine if your workforce was full of people that felt appreciated in the way that made sense to them. That I mean, people would run through walls for their organization. I think they would even be emotionally invested in the mission of the company as well.
Yeah.
As Dr. David Ulrich, the guru of HR, those of you who don't know, Dr. David Ulrich, professor in Michigan, is now the number one thought leader in human resource management, has been for the last 20 years. He, in one of his videos, which I show in my classes, he's talking about HR has to be now designed not inside out. Inside out resources means manage cost effective, reduce the cost, minimize the cost, efficiency and effectiveness. He suggests HR should now be designed from the outside in, focusing on what the person wants. And as we all know, the three of us all know, the current merit system, pay for performance systems in most companies where they have a merit based pay, doesn't work. Doesn't work. It's an insult to the people. Managers are forced to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is excellent performer. I give Bob Ramirez 5. I'm his manager. And I'm doing his performance review. And the company forces me to connect the performance review with the salary review. Hmm? Disaster. Disaster, in my opinion. Because when you connect salary review with performance review, the employee, Bob Ramirez, is not listening to performance review. He's he's in his mind, cut this nonsense out. Tell me how much pay. Show me the money. You're telling me I'm 5 performer, excellent performer? And the manager says, Bob, you're the greatest, the best employee I have. but I can only give you 3% because HR won't allow me to give you more. Think about that. From pay being motivational, it completely demotivates Bob Ramirez because he says 3% after tax, that's 1%, 1.5%. And this guy told me, the manager told me I'm 5 performer. It's a joke, right?
Well, I,
So companies throw out your job pay systems and introduce performance pay and hire us. We'll help you with the consulting.
Bob, it
Yeah,
reminds me when I was a director in another company, and my previous life in some other companies, the pay came out of the budget, which was done months before the actual evaluation of the employee, and it was on a bell curve. So if the budget called for 4%, you were allowed to give um, a few people 3%, some people 2%, some people maybe the 4%, but your total budget was 4%. And so you had to, with the staff that you had to work it out where you were within that 4% budget. And that was difficult to do as a manager because, hopefully over time, you've kept the best performing employees. They might all deserve a 4%, but you can't give all of them a 4%.
yeah, and you may be sitting here listening to this as a business owner, trying to figure out, oh, well, how do I even start this out? I will say in chapter 12 of our book, we lay out some framework on what your system could look like. But as Dr. Bob has also mentioned, that you can consult with us. You can go to our website and connect with us at newworldpeoplespecialists.com, New World People Specialists with a S at the end.com, and connect with us, and we can have a conversation on how to transition or phase you into these types of pay systems. But our book will also have in chapter 12 a good framework mindset. Robert, you were saying that they used to have these budgets, right, or something like that, and you could, in the end, it felt like a very scientific process, right, and it was devoid of emotion whatsoever. And so eh, then you that even with the managers and the leaders takes the creativity out of it as well.
Yeah, or just a number within the spreadsheet. Yeah, and it took away uh, it, in a way, it's a little demotivating because if you think about it, people leaders invest in the relationship with their workers to understand what motivates them. And as we talked about, it's not just the intrinsic rewards, it's the extrinsic rewards as well, and your contributions throughout the whole year. And that has to be a relationship, a conversation that happens, not just a budget number that happens months before.
Yeah, I
There
think
are various for the if you consult with us, we will introduce you to various pay programs like spot bonus programs, profit sharing plans, employee ownership plans, all of these person based pay systems that exist that really uh, is motivational and fits directly to the knowledge worker and the highly skilled workers who make the main a chunk of your workforce these days in the digital age. So this is what the digital age employee looks for. They look for more control over their working condition and
Mhm.
their employment conditions than before. They don't want to be put in boxes and in a mysterious, secret manner, they're boxed into ticky-tacky boxes. They don't want to be like GS 15 or grade 22 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're not gonna find we mentioned before the future workforce is gonna be a small cadre of full-time employees with the rest being gig workers. The the frustration, I think really one of the motivating factors of writing this book is this mass great resignation, this failure to be able to retain employees. If you have workers that don't want to be retained, awesome, make them gig workers, that's fine. But you do have people in your organizations that want to dedicate the rest of their lives towards the mission of the company. Why wouldn't you want to do everything you could to make them feel appreciated? And so you will end up with these various pay structures within your overall pay framework.
The Silicon Valley, one of the most attractive pay systems was all hands, every employee gets stock in the company. The legendary story is the two Google guys handed out stock, pre-IPO stock to various early employees. When Google became public, these employees all became millionaires. Even the janitor who got stock.
Wow, that's motivating.
That day itself, when it went public, house prices in Silicon Valley skyrocketed because they were really compensated. They were really rewarded, right? These types of flexible, non-traditional pay systems are the ones that apply in the new digital age, not traditional classification-based systems. That's it.
Well, thank you. We're going to conclude on that powerful note of Google and their employees getting those stocks. Thank you for being part of Managing Rewards in the digital age, and talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on the New World of Work podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share the podcast, and to pick up a copy of our book, The New World of Work, People Leadership in the Digital Age. You can purchase it and connect with us by going to our website at www.newworldpeoplespecialist.com.